Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Your Kids podcast. And today I have Nicole with us. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, hey, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
So I am Nicole Doyle, and I am a homeschool mom from Metro Atlanta. I've been homeschooling since 2014. I just had to think about it. I've been homeschooling since 2014. My husband and I decided to homeschool our four children. We kind of did it in reverse. We pulled our kids out in middle school. And our children are now 22, 20, 16, and 12. I have graduated two homeschoolers. One is a senior in college on computer science, and the other one is a sophomore at Morehouse College. I
Mhm.
currently serve as the president, board chair of DeKalb Christian Home Educators, a homeschool cooperative in DeKalb County, Georgia, located in Stone Mountain that's been around since 1989, serving the homeschool community. And we are basically there to be a homeschool resource hub where we provide classes, extracurricular support, community activities, and family centric field trips. But most recently, a group of us parents, we got together and said, well, this homeschool thing that we're doing, it should be available to everyone. So we started a collaborative of homeschool cooperatives and micro schools. And we are now the Georgia Black Home Educators Network. And we are so happy to host the Flourish Black Family Homeschool Conference here in Metro Atlanta, where we brought in about 384 in-person attendees last year for this conference with 53 vendors. And this is an opportunity for parents to have access to all the diverse resources, homeschooling advocacy and educational advocacy, extracurricular activities, not just provided by us personally as providers here, but by the whole community because we want to equip parents as homeschoolers and we want to energize an ecosystem of support for them.
Nice. Oh, so much to unpack there, but beautiful. I'm still stuck on a 1989. I'm stuck there. That is so awesome. Y'all are doing amazing things and continue to grow and expand with what
Yeah.
was already in place. And that's really awesome. So you say you took your kids out in middle school. Why?
So I had a beautiful elementary school experience with my children. So being here in Metro Atlanta, we have the privilege of having so many wonderful schools that are headed by Black leaders. And I am one of the few probably people, I even think I had a Black male principal elementary, middle, and high school.
Oh, wow.
And yep. And so I watched, it's so interesting. There are pieces that I've gotten from each environment that I was in personally as a child, and I've actually brought into the homeschool space to try to create that environment. But when my children were in elementary school, they had a beautiful experience here at a school here. And it was until middle school hit. And then the awakening of, the parent involvement piece was not seen and valued as much by the next administration that I was working with because before I basically it was a group of parents and we ran the library because we didn't have a librarian. So we decided to work in shifts to make sure that we had a librarian at all times doing scholastic book fairs, helping children with their book reports. I would just get up in the morning with my baby in her carrier and go do my shift at the school. And we were unpaid, but we were happy to do it, doing the newsletters and helping with graduations, and the school welcomed it. They even had a program, which is a program I use today, where they welcome grandparents into the school to monitor the lunch so the teachers could get a break.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
exactly. And so I'm watching this and then I go to the next school and I'm like, hey, I'm here to serve. And they're like, girl, go sit down. Like, 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 you don't have a job. Why you always up here? It was it was to I could tell, you know how you have those moments where you're like, all gun ho, but you could tell you just working some people's nerves
Nerves.
being there every day. I would, every day I would go in, I would drop my kids off at this school and I would walk in and, because not only that, my sister has 7 sons and I have
Oh,
4 children. And so we both homeschool. So we've done everything pretty much together because we live one street, a street
oh,
over from
that's
each other.
awesome.
Yes, she broke up the band and moved an hour away, but the kids,
Wow.
for for years and years, they literally will live one street over from their cousins. You could go through the woods, jump the creek, and be on their cousin's street.
And it
So
was 7 of them. So that is so dope. That's 11 kids. That is a community. That's a micro school. That's a micro
yes,
school.
it is. It is. And so we're because she was in that stage of having baby after baby after baby, I decided to take her kids to school with my children.
Mm.
And so I realized at that moment that there was a judgment about a Black woman with a lot of children with her. They made a determination about me and my worth and what I was bringing up there that I did not like, and I was vocal about it, and everything. So it just got to the point where my husband started to volunteer at the school because there was a program called Real Men Read. So you know how sometimes you complain to your man, you like, they did this, they did that, and he like, really, really? Did they do all of that?
Right.
You're
'Cause he know you.
running down the list, and you're like, you demonizing him, and he looking at you like, you sure you didn't do anything in there? So then I said, bet you go on up there and volunteer. He said, I'll take that challenge. Oh yeah, he saw it up close. He was like, whoa,
Oh, wow.
there's a lot going on here, and they thought he was staff because he was there helping with this Real Men Read program, but it was a volunteer program. In the process of realizing that my space, it was a couple of things that happened, that my presence and my advocacy were for my children and for my nephews was seen as unwanted and demonized a little bit, and even seen as being an aggressive, overbearing Black woman. Because I was standing in the place of advocacy, because my sister and myself both have children who are ADHD children who have executive functioning issues, and when you have this many children, you're going to have some things where the children are going to need extra support, parental involvement. I'm not against you. I'm here to say, what can you tell me that I can do to be of more support? So finally, after my son won all the awards at a award ceremony, my husband and I looked at each other and was like, so he's the top. Like some parents would have been
Don't do him
ecstatic.
like that. Do not do him like this is
Some
the bar.
children, we love our baby. We love our baby.
Of course you do, but you know
we
him.
we know him. So when they announced for the award for writing in English, we went, whoa.
Going too far now.
We looked at each other. There's a reason my husband was in the Real Men Read program heading it up. So at that point, we were just like, maybe we need to be more proactive with making sure this child's in order, because at that time he was in the 7th grade, and I'm looking at him thinking, if you do not know how to write, he's an excellent math kid. This is a kid off the top of his head, math. But I knew if he didn't get down that foundational phonics, reading and writing, that it was going to be an issue. So when I pulled that 7th grader out of school, we spent the rest of that school year, I kid you not, I had a mad child. Girl, we were going back over phonics because he was raised on sight words. No. So we went back over phonics, and it was fine because guess what? His siblings needed it too. So we were doing it together, but he felt some sort of way.
No, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, and I think I was using a program they use for people in prison to learn how to read, and I didn't realize it until the end of the book. And he was like, seriously? So
y'all was coming for him that year. Y'all was coming for him.
Sometimes you find resources, you get so happy, you don't read the intro. You go, oh, wait a minute. This is for people, But he read it like after we were in it for a while. He said, did you see what this is for?
Like,
Like I
I'm
have
using those
issues with.
phonetics now. I'm using those phonetics. And
Yes.
this says,
But yeah, now he's a senior. He's a senior in computer science at Kennesaw State, and he's done an internship at Google here in Metro Atlanta. He's interned for the city of Atlanta, helping to write some curriculum for the water boys. Actually, he was working with some stuff
wow.
on that. So, and he's also working at Kennesaw State. He because he loves robotics, so he was teaching programming in the summer camp. So it's come full circle, but let's just say
Of
that guinea
course.
pig first child, I think I got side-eyed in the spirit more times by that child. He was like, really, you just
What
experimenting.
we doing? So did he like being pulled out? Was he co-op? Like, was that a
The first year, no. So
okay?
the first year he was looking at me, and to be honest with you, I didn't set up the structure. So him not liking it, I didn't really set up a structure because when we first pulled out of school, the other kids loved it. And let me explain, because we stopped doing school.
Mm,
Like because I didn't have a lot of the resources. But the beautiful thing about it was his brother, who was in the fourth grade at the time, when I told his school, which was this beautiful elementary school that I came from, that I was just gonna pull them all out, they were like, we understand, because he was having
mm.
some issues too. And they were so supportive. They handed me a whole set of curriculum from him.
Oh,
But that
that's so
seventh grader, I
awesome.
didn't have anything for, because
They
that
didn't want
school
y'all
didn't.
there anyways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
So
go ahead.
go ahead. So for that child, I had some books, and then of course, so I was in a place of, I didn't set up the resources. But I did do one thing. I did recognize when I was trying to do school with him, it was a wrap. He started to like it more when we stopped doing school. And I know some people would be like, excuse me, like, you stopped doing school? I have never been a person that is totally understood unschooling.
Mm,
But I did understand enough that I had to wipe the slate clean
mm.
to not do traditional schooling in the sense. So we basically spent a couple of months until my husband said, "Girl, you better buy a book." Um,
Y'all were
so
deschooling.
yeah, yeah. So we spent a couple of months, and how we did is that I would basically get a clothes basket and go to the library. And I think at that time I was so tired, I didn't care. I'm literally looking like, who shot John? And I'm going up here to the library and my clothes basket, and this was when I had just gone natural. So I had like a whole fade, buzz cut it, and I went to the wrong place, and the man lined me up, and it just didn't look right. It was a lot going on that year. Tried to deschool children, go natural, do the whole thing, and baking bread, and just, I don't know. I just like went off the grid
Baking
hard.
bread, major
Yeah,
transitions.
I
Yes.
just went off the grid hard. So um I just take the clothes basket and start filling it with books. And so I would just go to a section of the library, just grab a chunk of children's books, throw them in there, like, we're going home. And so we basically went through
Through the
shelves and
library.
shelves of
Yes.
books. And so, because I have my second child is greedy, his most important time of the day is snack, lunchtime, breakfast, dinner. I have literally seen him step on a small child to get the cake. So um I
Not a game.
I made everything had food about it
Oh.
around here, and everything. Plus, I was also trying to teach him to share and to have self-control. So at the beginning, so this was a whole method. I was like, we're going to sit down and we're just going to read through books. So we started with Native American history, because we were talking about, okay, let's talk about the founding of the United States. And well, when I say the founding, I mean like before we were there. So we started looking at Native American history, which was easy to start with because there's the Etowah Indian mounds here in Georgia. And so we were able to go to the Indian Mountains. It's acres and acres of land, and you just walk through
Mm,
everything. And so we just would read through the books, like
mm.
literally, and then I would bookmark a place in the book, and literally I would read it out loud, pass it to the next child, and they may read it silently. And so we did this. And then our youngest, she had coloring sheets of whatever, maybe the long houses of whatever, and she had coloring sheets. And so we just did this for a couple of months. We went through Native American history. Then the next month we started going through African American history, which is super duper easy in Metro Atlanta.
Mm.
It's like that's the easiest and the best subject to go through because it's just so many beautiful and amazing stories that are here, just overcoming stories. Like we winning, just winning
Yeah.
all the time. And when and so we went through that, and then after that I started looking at civil rights history and the women's part in it. And
Mm.
having 3 sons and 1 daughter, this was important too, because I didn't recognize that was important. My son, who's 22, was telling me that he has had conversations with guys like, dude, are hold up. What you're saying about a woman it doesn't line up with Black women from
Mm.
what I know of history.
Mm.
And you just never know the conversations and how they line up, because we are in a culture that seems to be demonizing us straight up for everything.
Mm.
And so to have a son stand in that place and go, stop. To have a son that when he was on a robotics team write a formal complaint about somebody messing with a girl, that
Mm.
make your heart proud right there. You be like,
What?
what?
I'm like, you
I was
doing it,
like,
girl. You just,
you just put
what?
yourself in crossfire right there. And
Oh
this was
my
years
God.
ago when he was like 17 years old. And I know for a fact it had to do with the fact that we sat down. We went over Fannie Lou Hamer. We were going through all of looking at Maya Angelou's poetry and just seeing the beauty in not just African American history, but the parts that we all bring to it. But I digress. That's my side note on that. But the wonderful thing about doing school in that way of just flowing with your interests for a while is that it restarts the passion that children naturally have to be curious, to be imaginative, and to really love learning. And not only that, to be in a space where children are unafraid to ask you questions. I think we have too many children who are guarded. Their souls are guarded. Their little spirits are guarded. And if they could just be unencumbered to say, I want to ask a stupid question. I remember I had a cousin, little baby, said, what is in grapes? And his mama said grapey stuff. I mean, she was just like, I don't know. But he was like, yeah, thanks. I wanted that answer. That's all he wanted was an answer. And so I just wanted to be able to have a relationship with my children, because I felt like before I was taskmastering them.
No.
And I know I was fussing all the time. I was fussing, fussing, fussing. And I remember one of the most beautiful things that happened in our homeschooling experience was that we were going over something, and one of my kids said, yeah, because I remember when that happened and you said this and I said this. And I looked at him and said, you know what? I need to apologize to you.
Mm.
And he looked to the left and the right, like,
You talking to me? What?
and I said, I need to apologize to you. I overreacted. That was
Oh.
not the way my perception was not. I was stressed. And I even went back to talk about past times when the oldest one was fussed at in situations because he and my husband and I were trying to still figure out this thing in marriage and everything and I'm telling this child, like, I apologize for reacting this way, for saying this, and then really being conscious that after I apologize, how do I speak to them?
Mm.
There's a generational healing that can come when you just hold your tongue and not say everything you want to say. I think my people act like, oh, with being an elder comes honesty. No, you just got an excuse to be nasty to people, to be
Yes.
judgmental. This motherhood thing is like, sometimes I need to be transparent and look at another woman and say, girl, I am on the verge. And she
Yes,
be like, on the
ma'am.
verge of what? I don't know. But I'm on the verge of something that is not good because I'm upset. And, and
Yes.
and them not go, well, what you need to do, and
Right.
them just go, okay, I'm listening. And so in that,
Yes.
you had that
Yes.
happens.
Yes.
So in that
Yes.
space, I was like, I don't want to continue that. I don't want my kids to get ready to tell me a story and then go, hold up, I wasn't supposed to tell her all that. I wasn't supposed to let her into my life and know all those details and
Mm.
everything. And I do want that with him. And so that was one of the beautiful things. That is funny because when he went to college, his friends from college, I said, I would like for all the friends you met to come over, and I'm just going to barbecue and have a dinner. And he was like, okay. So he brought them over and they were like, hi. And they were like, we heard so much about you. I'm like, good
Oh.
or bad thing? They were like, no, we heard good things. And then one of them said, he told us you apologized to him. He was a child. And
Oh.
I was like, what? They were mesmerized by that interaction that probably happened when the child was 14. And I said, you've been going around telling people this story. He said, because apparently people do not apologize to their
Mm.
children and stick with not doing it again.
Like, yes, honey. Oh my gosh. I just had this conversation last night where a young lady pointed out to me like the difference between a young man having a relationship with their mom and their mom just being a good mom. It's like, there's plenty of Black men being raised by good mothers, but actual men that have a relationship with their mom, who talk to their mom, that's not always heard. Like, that's not always something we talk about. And so you have a relationship with your sons, and that's
Yeah.
that's everything.
Yeah, they tell that sometimes but they still know when to censor because it'll be like I'll find out some things through my husband. They had a separate conversation and it never came my direction. But I'm kind of excited because my son asked me, he was like, hey, so my girlfriend's going home next Thursday for Thanksgiving. What I want to know is, can we have something at the house on Monday? Because I want her to kind of like, meet my siblings a little bit more and be around her. Because last time she was here with a group of friends, so it wasn't a lot of conversation. I was like, okay, well, sure. His siblings, they like to mess with him. They were like, why do we need to meet her? You know,
Tell us more. What's
tell
going
us more.
on?
Tell us more. Like, why do we need to meet her? And so, and he was like, you need to meet her because she's very important.
Oh,
And they were like,
yeah.
oh, okay, okay. And so then, and so then, and then one of the brothers said, so how long y'all gonna be together? He said, as long as she let me. Like, boy,
Them
my
siblings, boy. Oh.
little sister, she was like, does she go to church? Like she like the old woman. Does she go to church? Where she
Oh,
go? It's almost like who are peoples? You and all
yeah.
that. So I'm laughing because I wanted to ask some questions, but I was like, I'm gonna disinvest from this conversation. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna let them because they will go in. They will ask a lot of questions like, what's her major? Is she graduating on time? Because we know you not. So
Yes.
that they're just wrong. They could be wrong sometimes.
But you need that sibling love. That's real. That's real.
Yeah, they just be like, and, the one in Morehouse, that's the one who's at Kennesaw, but the one in Morehouse, oh, he got the stories for days, but
I can imagine.
he loves Morehouse. We crack a joke around here. Morehouse will love you like family. They will support you and they will teach you and there will be a lot, but they will treat you like family because they want their money and they will they will they don't have those but everything else is fine. We were definitely loving Morehouse and he travels with the Glee. So he gets to travel and sing and that is a passion that we discovered in homeschooling and everything. So I've been very fortunate to stumble into resources along the way that supported each child. The child who's computer science child who did robotics, I wanted the robotics for him, so I decided to start the robotic team. So I was
Nice.
a science Olympiad and robotics mentor. And then I got him into another robotics team, but I realized one of the local homeschool groups didn't have a robotics team. So I went to them and said, hey, what if my son taught robotics? So for 3 years at this homeschool co-op, this boy actually taught a robotics class and
I
taught
love that.
programming and mechanical design. And they won state in 2019. They won the regional state in 2019. I was just so excited for them. But that's where it's his trajectory of something that was a passion, and then it pulls into
Yes.
adulthood. And then the same thing with the 20-year-old. He loved musical theater. And so the first activity we were able to participate in was we found a homeschool co-op that did musical theater.
Mm.
And so so from the age of 12 to when he graduated, the boy was in Bah Humbug, the story of Scrooge. He was Scrooge, you know, he was in
Oh, he was
the
getting leading
Lion.
roles.
Oh, that was the funniest part about it. From the beat from 12 years old on, he only had one role that was not a leading role in everything. He was, you know, he was in everything from Aladdin, he was the genie.
Oh my God.
He was the genie in Aladdin. He was and it let's see, he was in Lion King. In Lion King he played Simba,
Oh my
and
goodness.
his brother, older brother, that was his senior year, his older brother senior year, he played Scar. And so the highlight of the year was that he got to choke his brother out on stage. Um so yeah, I kid you not. Will was like, "Hey man, you went too far."
Like, wait, is this the past? Are we bringing the past to right now? Are we
Yep, because he
going
was
down memory
Simba. He was
lane?
the adult. He was adult Simba coming back, and Scar was
Yeah,
sitting up there chilling at Pryor Rock. He got the choke. He was like, "Man, that was a good play." I said, "I bet you."
I love it. That is amazing.
Yeah, and then here in Atlanta, we have a program called the Atlanta Music Project, and it is free music lessons, singing or variety of instruments, as long
Mm.
as you commit to all the practices and the extra and the performances. They do make you sign a contract, so if you don't do the
Oh, it's
performances,
serious. Okay.
you
Oh,
owe them money. But
okay.
that's why I tell people be committed. But when he joined that, and they gave him a private tutor for singing, which I paid $25 for the registration for, and that was it.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. This lady taught him Italian. She was from, I think she was from Alabama State. I love Miss Abunku. She was an amazing, amazing Nigerian American singer, and she was his tutor. Um, and she had him to start learning Italian, and diction, so he could sing. And Morehouse is right literally up the street from this place. And so she helped him with his auditions because he got into Howard, he got into Morehouse, because my son was like my second child, because he participated in so much musical theater, and he was pretty much, you know, one of a few brown children at times in these productions. He had made up in his mind, oh, I'm going to a HBCU.
Mm.
So my college experience will not look like that, because even though he loved his musical spirit theater experience, that was not colored necessarily by him until we got a chance to participate with the NAACP
Okay.
AXO competition. And then he was able to do August Wilson, which that woke up a whole new
Oh,
side. And he was like, oh yeah, I gotta find myself an HBCU that is delving into the arts. So
yes.
I tell parents all the time, you know, spend some time getting to know your children's interests, because I'm gonna be honest with you, my husband and I looked at each other and was like, you want to go to Morehouse as much as it costs, and you want us to pay for jazz hands? Like, this is not the business.
Mm.
But that child was like, you don't have to pay for it. Bet. First year, we signed for the loan, but he kept getting scholarships. And so they kept applying the scholarships to the loan. Next thing you know, we got a letter that said the loans are gone for that first year. During that first year, he did an amazing job of constantly applying. This year, he got lazy. We're going to be like, hey, we need you to get on the plan a bit more.
Right.
But it was just like when I issued the challenge of, we're not paying 52. That's a lot.
That's a year.
That's a year. And then to have all of that first year be gone, you know, through many small scholarships, not one, not two,
Yeah.
like eight, nine,
And
like
also,
70 some scholarships went
could
out.
you
And
share y'all journey to college? Like how the first two got to the college? Because you did middle school on up. So that means you created transcripts, y'all did everything. So how did
so
y'all get
they're
there?
two different children. So Will
Mhm.
is my oldest, and he is an unaccredited transcript child, meaning mommy created a transcript and she gave it to the college.
Okay.
Um, that process it's just a lot of time, keeping a lot of records. I think I may still have I think I'm looking at the box of the boys' records now. You know how you work on so hard, you almost scared to throw it away. But
Oh, yes.
yeah, you like, man, I don't need this. What do I need your eighth grade term paper for? But I got it. Um, So with that child, because he was already, even though he had some difficulties with reading, he was math and he was science and he was a go-getter for those type of things. So dual enrollment was easy, an easy path for him. So we did the dual enrollment and he did 32 semester hours of dual enrollment before he was out of high school. That is a lot.
Beautiful. Yes.
I would not necessarily suggest that everybody do that, but if your child can handle it, because I tell people dual enrollment is a wonderful and can be in Georgia free resource, but be aware that if your child doesn't do well, it is a transcript. It is there permanently. So do the work beforehand to make sure your child's in order. But I basically, because of all that dual enrollment and having those transcripts, that was like the credentialing. And it's almost like certified my transcript that I wrote in a way because he did so much dual enrollment. The pre-work that I would say for dual enrollment, I would tell everybody to do this. Make sure your child understands how to really answer their emails and manage their emails. Like teach your children to check their emails in the morning, the things that need to be added to the calendar, add it to their calendar right then. Set themselves reminders in places they need to. If there's a quick email that needs a quick answer it then. But you need to teach them how to manage their emails. There are so many opportunities. I had one of my children missed a scholarship opportunity because it went to the email.
Mm.
And I was like, whoa, you missed $5,000 because you didn't check your email. But you know what? Lesson learned. It was like something I've been preaching for a while, but teach your children how to manage their email, because when they get in school, they're going to not only have the email, they're going to have like learning platforms where the work may be on there. If they're not used to going to that computer to check it, help them to learn how to do that. That's number one. Number two, teach your children how to take notes.
Mm.
So many children do not know how to take notes. I started off teaching my kids how to take Cornell notes when they were younger. I mean, literally probably like middle school and elementary. And how we would do it was that I would take a fairy tale. Like I never forget, we took the Three Little Pigs. And then I just drew the little Cornell note T, and I said, so who's the characters? Wrote the characters on one side, wrote the things that they did on the other side. And then at the bottom, I said, give me a summary. I had one child look at me, well, she's going to be convicted because that was trespassing. That was destruction of property.
I was talking about Goldilocks. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Goldilocks. And we were talking about Goldilocks. And here's the thing. So you have the facts written on both sides.
Destruction of property.
Yeah, he was like,
going to jail.
That's jail. She's going to jail. She's going to jail. But you go through that, and then when you get to the bottom where the child has to summarize the information, that's great because then it also helps them access their logic. But then I will also put children in places here where I would say you're part of the team, and I would treat them as part of the educational team. So, girl, when my oldest one went to college, I almost cried because I didn't realize I wasn't teaching as many subjects in the house as I thought I was, because I was giving the boy allowance, but he was just like going through, okay, let's get on over here and we're going to review this math. And because he has a teacher spirit about him, like for real, that's what he does. So when he went to school, I went, oh my Lord, I lost my teacher assistant. Because that second child
was the one
like,
who was teaching robotics. The first one.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So that second child looked at me and was like, I know you're not. Yeah, I don't do that.
I'm not.
I sing, I dance, and I know I sing, dance, and I do opera. I don't do that. I was like, I don't do that. That's not me. So, that was one of the things, like, and because I empowered every child in their way to be like, you are part of team, even down to when my daughter was 5 years old. She was 5, 6 years old. My mother had a stroke and she had to move in with me. So I have my third son, whose name is Nicholas, and he wanted to be seen as a big guy. And so I said to him, because he could read extremely well at 7, 8 years old, I said, you know what if I make you a teacher today? And I said, and so he was like, and I said, if you sit with Noelle and you read with her, with your sister, 1 or 2 books every single day. I'll give you $1 at the end of the week. You know, he was
Mm.
like, girl, I'm about to be rich
Oh, what is
up
child
in
labor?
here.
$1?
A
A
yes, that was,
dollar?
yeah,
Not
that was,
even
he was
a
like
day, a week.
a week. He was like 7, 8 years old. He thought it was a lot because back then, you remember dollar store used to be $1?
Right.
It's $1.25 now. So um, he was excited, but he just had one request. He said, my sister has to call me Mr. Nicholas during our reading time. So I was like, okay, all right. So it's interesting because in those ways you empower each child to have their own space and the things
Yeah.
that they need. And so I was purposeful with empowering them to be like, okay, you can actually run a mini project. Even my daughter,
Yes.
you know, she had things that she would be like, well, she started herself a little small business where she wanted to do crocheting little things. And so I said, okay, here's your here's what you have to do. Here's the kids that you have an order from, look at your timeline and figure it out. And
Okay.
so that process was an excellent process. And those are little stepping stones before you do children in dual enrollment. Do they have self accountability? Can they manage their time? Do they know how to appropriately take notes? And last one, do they know how to advocate for themselves? When you're in the
Yes.
college environment and adults are possibly saying something or whatever, it's not about some adults going to say something wrong to you. We just have some homeschool kids who just don't speak up. They're just like, I mean, nothing bad happened. They're just like, mm. So do you know how to advocate for yourself? Do you know that it's okay to ask questions? Do you know that there is tutoring services on the campus and you need to learn how to access all the resources to get your self-help when you see your grade is going down? Like there's a whole advocating portion there that I had to walk through. My oldest one I didn't recognize when he needed something. He's like, well, I didn't know who to ask. And I said, wait a minute, oh. And we just learned along the way
Right.
with this child. Um, that was the first child was the unaccredited transcript. Second child was accredited, which means that I paid an accrediting service. And so
Mhm.
there's a wonderful accrediting service here that I use. It's called Northeast Independent Preparatory Academy, but there are several accrediting services that you can do. And basically they just package all your information for your transcript. It looks like a private school transcript, but they do another part here. In Georgia, we have the Georgia Futures with the Zale Miller and the Hope Scholarship that pays college tuition. And so there is a system called Georgia Futures that information needs to be inputted into. And so a part of what I'm paying for is for them to make sure all that information is appropriately
It's
there
okay.
as well. And so with the second child, because he was the ADHD child, he did not want to do dual enrollment. He was like, you will not get me to do dual enrollment. I think in his senior year, I got him to do 3 AP classes
Mm.
in his senior year, which he did extremely well in, which because I actually another part of that is that I got him a tutor.
Mm.
So and I always tell parents like, recognize there's nothing wrong with getting your child a tutor. There's nothing wrong with getting your child a tutor in college. My college senior, when he was in his first year of college, he was having trouble with chemistry. I got him a tutor. A homeschooling mom who used to be a chemical engineer was
Mm.
tutoring him, you know? So it was like, don't think because they're in college you take your hands off. That's another thing. But with this second child, we just basically decided to take his whole transcript and make sure that it was really geared toward the performing arts piece. Like this is what he wants to do. So and we made sure he had an internship with theater company, the Alliance here. He participated in Pulaski Collision Project, where they got a chance to write a play based on Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. They wrote their own musical interpretation of it with a group of
Beautiful.
students. They were really, really talented kids. But I think my son learned something very interesting. He tried out for that program 4 times.
Oh.
He tried out for it in the 8th grade, and they were like, wow. And they said, wait a minute, this is a high school program. Like, you can't. He was like, okay, fine. So he came back the next year and he tried out, and his voice was changing because like I
Oh,
said, he
cute.
sings
Yes.
and he's in Morehouse Glee Club, and he's bass 2, so he's like lowest voice. And
Mm.
then it just sounded weird. It was just like, what's going on? So his voice was, and so he didn't make it. So
Oh.
then the 3rd year he tried again, and he said he got there, and his whole monologue from Seven Guitars from August Wilson just left his head.
Oh,
He said he don't know. It's like shoot, it was gone. So then the guy, I guess he had been there so many. They were like, so then he comes back and he's like, I just look crazy. I keep going back. I
you
look
look
crazy. I keep going.
determined. No, you look
And I said,
determined.
no, you look determined. And then I said, you know what? Ask them, send them an email. And he said, no, you can't do that. I said, no, send them an email and ask them, what do you need to work on? And he sent them an email. And he asked them, what do I need to work on? Because I really, really want to be there. And I said, explain to them why, and this was the first time he had to put down on paper what he really desired for himself.
Oh,
So he put it on paper, and the Alliance came back and said, you need to work on this long list of things. Like you are like so far from being here, but that's okay because we're going to give you a total scholarship to come to the Alliance summer camp and get your life in order.
oh, look at there.
And so that's what he did that summer. Yeah, and he got a chance to do that. So he was like, and I kept telling him, I said, sometimes you will fail a lot, but do you know how to, in the midst of failure, focus, refocus? Because there's opportunities, but you have to figure it out. And so he learned something. And then when he got into the Alliance, he could not believe how talented the kids are. He said, Mommy, one girl is on her second album.
Oh,
This girl has a book, and I'm looking it up on Amazon. I was like, oh, found one girl Spotify album. I said, oh my God, she's like neo soul. And so at that point, he started going through imposter syndrome
oh, he
because
didn't think he belonged.
because he
Oh,
was like, there are kids who play 5 instruments and they perform with this music troupe and they travel. And he
he
was
was
like,
Simba. Did he forget that? Yo, you was Simba. Yo,
and then
yo, put some respect on your name, yo. You was Simba. Don't do that.
he was walking through that imposter syndrome hard. And he was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. And, did they feel sorry for me? And they just let me
Oh,
in. And he said, I feel so naive because sometimes they're talking about things. And because he's not, we're homeschooled, so he didn't really spend a lot of time watching TV. He was like, I don't even know who they're talking about, who they're talking about. He said, I'm just sitting there nodding my head. I don't know who these people are. He said, Nikki, who? I don't know who that is. you know, True story. My oldest son, we were watching the Super Bowl halftime show. And so this was the year Beyonce came out with her Black Panther themed,
mm,
performance.
mm.
And my son was watching because we've read a lot of history books and stuff, and he's watching it. And he's like, wow, I'm getting everything. This imagery, this thing, this is, and he's like all into it. And he said, this is amazing. They let a newcomer come on here with something this.
No comment. Yo, I love that. I love
And
that.
my husband, I sat on the sofa, and we looked at him like, he said, this is a, he said a newcomer with a controversial theme. And I was like, oh my God, this baby don't know who Beyonce is.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Please know I love it.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm sorry. If they were checking black cards, they would be like, and parents, we take yours.
I'm okay with that, honey. Oh my
But
gosh.
so my other son who's at the theater, he was feeling some sort of way. He felt like there were things he didn't know and things that were going on and he didn't understand. And, he was introduced to just things in culture, and everything that came up, everything from, because it was a whole social platform. They were basing off Marvin Gaye, what's going on. They talked about everything from social justice to police brutality, to LGBT rights. It went down the list of
Mm,
things that as a parent, like, come on, let's discuss it. And I really do think if you're going to homeschool, don't be scared for all the stuff to be on the table. I
yeah.
met homeschooling parents who homeschool for exclusion, like
Mm,
to the point that you are leaving your baby bare walking out in this world. Like that's not cool. So they knew you don't have to agree with everything, but I do think that whatever you have as your moral compass, you need to at least verbalize with your children your expectations of them. There's nothing wrong with verbalizing expectation because God knows we all had parents who verbalized expectations. We did what we want to do. But I hope in the space of us having a relationship that you will
Yes.
at least listen and respect some things I have to say, even though I know you are going to do your own thing. And that's a
Make
hard
your
space
own
for homeschooling
choices.
mamas.
Yes.
That is a hard place for homeschooling mamas with college kids to go, okay, back up. They're going to make some of their own choices. You know, they're going to do their own things because I can feel my life shifting
Mm.
to these young adult children and possibly somebody who's like, I want you to meet her. Like,
Aw.
what is my role? So that right there makes me go, I can't be that nosy extra. I know everything mother-in-law. I can't stand them.
Well, you ain't gonna be
So
them. You're not gonna be
yeah, but
them.
but you mute yourself. You be like, and I have nothing to say on that.
Yes.
What do you think? I say this a lot these days with them. What do you think?
I love
How you
that.
feel
Yes.
about that? Because I got an
Mhm.
idea, but I was like, girl, I ain't gonna.
I know, right?
Because
Crushing
then you look
dreams.
like, yeah, because then, yeah, like, so what do you think? So we walked this journey of homeschooling, which I just feels like it's been an all-encompassing journey of of not just education, but the soft skills of life,
Life,
the
yes.
grit of life, because disappointment, oh my God, my kids have stumbled into some disappointment. I mean, because my son who wrote the complaint years ago about the young lady being, picked on, um, oh, he dealt with backlash. So
Um,
he had to figure out how to navigate. How do you navigate the space when none of the dudes wanna mess with you anymore because they feel like you a simp? Like, how do you navigate that? Where's that space? Are you being like, okay, you know what? I'm not changing my language. I'm not changing my walk. I'm not doing anything like that. Because I have to stand firm in this. You got a sister, you got girl cousins, you got a mama, you want, at the point you're trying to introduce me to this girl, I'm thinking you may want a wife. So
mm,
where does that space start of you being learning taking the steps of a man? Is it just when you getting her, or is it when you're like 14 years old and you're going, I'm not gonna do that? And my husband has been very vocal
mm,
with my boys about things like that's not appropriate. And half of the things that you deal with as far as troubles have to do with the fact that you haven't evaluated your friend group appropriately. And so to talk to them
mm,
about, have you evaluate the folks you hang with? Because my husband and play about, if you have weird humor and laugh at tragedy, we can't
mm,
hang. He's like, we can't hang like tragedy like that. So it's just to walk our kids through that whole thing and making sure that we are raising them not just to be people who seek knowledge, because I do feel like we're in a culture where folks are like, I heard this, I kind of saw some of this, and I just believe whatever. Like, have you
mm.
really read? Have you really like looked into it and done your due diligent research? Not just what the news and TikTok or this or that. Like, it's nothing
Told
wrong
you.
with
Yes.
it's a nothing wrong with you see all that, because I do feel like you see all that. I mean, we're visual people. I know I get into a TikTok funnel where I'm just like, and then you be like, oh my God, I've been sitting here an hour. So we all get that, but have you turned on your child's ability to logically
Mm.
evaluate all those things?
All
Do
that
they have the
information.
ability?
Yes.
Do they have the ability to see where when failure keeps happening in a particular area, do they know how to be self-accountable? And
Accountability. Yes.
because sometimes it's you, it's you. I remember one of my sons called me and he was like, because then the professor and he wouldn't take my work and this and this and that. And I was like, was it late? And he kept on going through the story. And I asked again, was it late?
You didn't answer that. Hey.
He's like, but
So
it
when
was
was
my
it
first
due?
time.
When was it due?
Well, he said, this was my first time doing it. It was a mistake. And I'm like, I said, he can operate in a place of mercy with you. But to be honest with
Mm.
you, let's be real. You missed the deadline.
Yes.
Now you can't approach somebody like you deserve to give me a second chance. You need to go up in there, hat in hand, and begging and everything. This boy missed his final exam.
What was it?
Yes,
What happened?
So remember I told you this is my Charlie Morehouse.
Oh, okay. The artistic. This
Everything,
is
yeah.
the artist.
Yeah,
Yes.
the artist who is
Yes.
ADHD, and so everything has to be in his calendar,
Mm.
and things are color coded in his calendar. And I helped him do this over the course of years. He put the wrong time, like
Oh.
he put like I don't even know. I think he put the time of the class when they were like doing it 2 hours early. I hate when they do that. Just keep it at time of the
Mm-hmm.
class. So he goes up there, Xavier, he walks and sings. Like, I kid you not, he walks like do 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 do. He does that here in the house. He does, I'll go to Morehouse and waiting on him, and I can see him walking. Do, do, do. I mean, it's like he walks like he got a hum, like and he's really, really
Yes.
tall, and he's really tall and skinny. So his siblings said he reminds them of Woody from Toy Story. Well, like walking. And he's like, because he's a happy-go-lucky. He's like, I mean,
Yes. I love it.
he sings Negro spirituals. Like he was like, Lord, and he'd be like, it's just it's like we all look at him and go, well, that's him.
Exactly. Thank y'all. Let him be.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
simple. First of all.
yeah. So here he is. I can imagine him going and being like, because I mean, he's so vocally expressive. He'll be like, he probably was like, oh my God, I missed the final. He called me on the phone and he was hyper. He was about to have, he said, okay, I'm trying to. I said, what's happening? Somebody beating you? Somebody chasing you? I'm
Oh,
freaking out. He said, okay, it's not like, he said, I don't know what to do. And he was like, and it was messed up because we were in the van. I was in the minivan on that day. And you know how it comes into all his siblings were there, including his old brother.
oh my
So when I answered it,
gosh.
we went, hey, Xavier. And then homeboy's like, his older brother said, what's wrong? Somebody, what? Something happened. We were like, what's going on? Where we going?
We need to
What
pull
we
up.
doing?
Look, we need to pull up. What's going on? Yes.
Everybody get quiet. He said, I missed my final exam. And then his younger siblings went, oh, that ain't nothing. And then his older sibling went, oh my God. Do you? He said, you missed the final. Because I guess he know. He's like,
Yes.
and so he missed it. And long story short, I told him to write the professor a letter. The professor just wrote him back a one sentence like line. He said, you were late.
I know that. That's why we're talking right now. Don't do that.
But do you know what this professor did? Because the boy came to every class, he did everything. He basically just let him have his seat that he had
Oh,
ready for him.
nice. I love that.
Everything. I said, you better write this man a thank you note. I don't know if you need to find out where he stay. I don't know if you need to meet him when the semester. This was like going into summer. Meet him
DoorDash
at
him
his
some food.
office. I don't know what you need to do because that was grace. But it's those moments of being like, okay, I messed up. How do I regroup? How do I rethink? Do I hide it? That's another thing. We went through a time period
Mm,
where kids would hide the fact when they were in elementary and middle school, they would hide, oh man, I got a bad grade, I gotta hide it
mm.
and everything. But you got a lot of little siblings who, they don't mind ratting you out. They be like,
Of course.
it under the bed. I'll never forget. My oldest one looked at his younger brother like, boy, I could murder you. He said, it's a big 50. It's in red. It's big. Because you can't hide anything when you got little siblings. But I just wanted them to be about integrity. If you messed up, tell me.
And understand that life goes on. Like, that's the thing. Like, a lot of these young people are met with a moment of like something that's let down or something, a conflict or whatever it is, but they feel like that's it. Like, oh, my life is not going to continue after this tragic moment or this unfavoring moment or whatever. And it's like understanding that no, you got to continue. Like, there's a solution. It's okay. You're okay.
Take a breath. You are okay. And another thing that we've done a lot of homeschool is that we just tried new stuff. I do believe in the space of accountability, trying new stuff, you need to come with some rules. So when we try new activities, you know how a child be like, oh, I hate it, I don't want to go anymore. First of all, wherever my money go, you go. So so that's like rule number one. If my dollars ran over there, guess what? Your behind's going. You're going right with those dollars because this is not cheap. Homeschooling is that private school sometimes that people don't tell you about.
Yes.
You will live in your car for a season.
Yes.
So wherever my money goes, that's number one. But number two, if I say we're going to try this for this particular time, I need you as a child to show up in the space of being prepared and giving your best for that short period of time. Don't sign your child up for something like you're like, we're gonna be doing coding for the whole year.
Mm.
Knowing good and well your baby wanna sing
Yeah, I was saying they're not
and
even into
color.
it.
Your baby
Yes.
wanna color coding. And you're gonna put your baby in a class, your child gonna be like, oh, I hate it. Never bring in a homework, the teacher
Yes.
frustrated, they're frustrated. But try for a season. Maybe find a coding class that only goes on the weekend and see if they like it. But I always tell my kids, I need for you to
To
show up
try it.
in
Yeah.
excellence for this short season because I I say obedience, and obedience meaning to me and what I do is complete, it's immediate, and it is cheerful.
Mm.
And when I say cheerful, I don't mean like off the drum, but you know how these teenagers can get. They do it like and all that grumbling. I don't do that. So if we're gonna try, and I'm gonna give my best effort to actually get up in the morning, because we do know some of us homeschooling mamas, and I'm gonna be admitting it, are allergic to the morning. It makes us
Going
itch.
outside. Look, going outside. Yes.
Going like,
Like,
oh,
ugh.
uh,
Not
you
even
know,
it's 11 o'clock. Look, I don't need to
like
leave
what?
my house yet. Like, this is too early.
Yes. And so if I'm giving my best and I'm saying, you know what, I'm just going to be up and I'm going to do this, you can at least do that. And we're going to do this for a short period of time because we're learning something new. That learning something new and just being able, it teaches your child resilience because they go into a new environment and they're doing this activity for a little while. I know some parents who they only put their children in Christian homeschool events with other kids. And I'm like, your children are allergic to other children. I mean, what? I mean, what's going on? Like, your children should not be afraid of their people,
Mm.
their community. They should be able to ebb and flow within reason. And also it helps them to learn discernment because, you know, it's nothing worse than being a person and everybody knows something about to pop off and you just sitting there. You have no idea that it's about to go left really quickly and you need to be
Yes.
on your way to the car. So there it's like get your children in environments to understand and have discernment and to see meet people and understand their personalities. And the best way that we have done this is volunteering.
Mm.
My oldest son, he did over, I think in his high school career, he did over 200 and some hours of volunteer work.
Nice.
Um, and Xavier did a ton of volunteer work too, even to the point that my little, as I say, I'm gonna put it my soon to be Broadway actor. I keep saying about Xavier.
I know. I feel
He
like I need to request his autograph now. Like, should have got that back when he was Simba, but or Scrooge. I don't know. Either one. Like,
which
yes,
was,
big things,
but
big things.
so with him, we found a way for him to volunteer, but it's still leaning to his passion. Since remember, he's the one I told you that was greedy. He's the one
Mm.
that I was like, he loved to eat. So I turned it into teaching him how to cook. So he
Mm.
loved to cook, but he also
Yes.
likes the performance part. So he worked out something with the food pantry and with his homeschool co-op. He's a high school homeschool co-op here, where during the pandemic, everybody was stuck at home. So he would do a once a month cooking class on Zoom. And so it
Beautiful.
would be 10 homeschool kids in there, variety of children just in there at home with their ingredients. And so we had talked to the food pantry. She gets some of the special ingredients because we had some children who are like, well, I'm stuck at home, but I need gluten-free flour. I need this. And we would go to the pantry because we were volunteering there at the food pantry the whole time during the pandemic. I mean, we lived at the food pantry, volunteering up there because I mean, they were serving like 400 or 500 people a day at
Mm.
one point, and it was just constant work, but we didn't want to be stuck in the house. So he would put together the little package of things that some of the kids in the group who needed specialized dietary things, and he would take it. We would drop it off on their doorstep and everything because that food pantry had a partnership with the Whole Foods and the Amazon here. So it was some good stuff coming in that food pantry. I kid you not. Some $25 boxes of cereal coming in that food pantry. I was like, what is this? But it was an opportunity for him to use his talent and still, in a way, help people. And he did that cooking club. He wrote so many essays about
Nice.
that volunteer experience because it's different. It's very, very different. And then when you're in, my children took ASL, American Sign Language is their foreign language. And to be in the food distribution line and somebody comes through and they're requesting milk and they just start signing and my children go, oh my God, this is the time I can use what I learned. They're just excited. They're just like, I'm on it, and they're ready to jump in there. And you meet people who show up, who are grateful, who are angry, who are having a moment. And even though they're having a moment, you be able to access in you that they're having a moment because there's a lot going on in their life and it's not personally against you. That's teaching them a level of grace and mercy and a way to actually still keep control, because you still got to keep control and people still got to respect you.
Mhm.
But it's not making them freeze up in a situation when people are being chaotic. And I've seen some kids, if they're not, because you're tempered as an adult with your children, and I'm tempered as an adult. But let's be honest, there's some crazy people out here in this world. And so you need to be able to push through the noise to see when are they dangerous and when are they just upset. When is the moment to, I have to establish a boundary, when I just leave you alone and walk away. And so you could start to help those children to navigate that space. That is a beautiful thing, because those are the pieces of being an adult that can function without me. My job, and I've heard so many, my job is to make sure I have no job.
Yes.
My job is to have no job. I
Girl, you better say
don't
it
want to be
again.
raising folks later on. I do want to be the best grandmama in the face of the earth, and I am going to make sure.
Oh,
I've already
yes.
said, all y'all can send y'all kids to me for a whole month in the summertime. Take a vacation, do your life. I'm gonna take them all. We're gonna figure it out doing this. I'm gonna get them to their swim lessons. Don't even worry about paying. My husband was like, excuse me?
Wait, slow down now.
He said, wait, what?
Going too far.
I said, we're gonna pay for everything they want to do for a whole month in summer, and they're just gonna stay with us. And he looking at me like, we paid our dues. I'm confused. But I told him, I said, I can't wait for that day. But if we don't work hard here, then you have moments of a lot more heartbreak. Don't get me wrong, your kids are going to disappoint you. And that was another part of this that I have learned from the veteran homeschool moms is, when your children disappoint you, how do you respond in love? Because I know from my own experience, some family members who, when their children go left, they drop them. They drop them. They're not trying to be support. They're trying to be that. And I have seen like people who have spent the time, babies going to church, and they thought they did the spiritual portion. They spent the time, the education. They thought they had a good relationship with their child, and then kids just make their own decision. They rabbit trail off into some mess. And then next thing you like, what? How we get here? And everything. And so like this. I know. And you're like confused because like one mama said, I literally took all of my youth and gave it to you. like all of it. And she was like, I'm looking like, because she has a lot of kids. And, of course, you got 6, 7, there's one, that you're like, what? How did I miss you? So, what's going on? And so, but that child has, come full circle and, grown up, and it just looks, the early 20s were looking rough.
Yes.
The late 20s, definitely much better. And they went back to school. But like, here's the thing, in that space, are you becoming toxic to your own child? And so that takes a level of maturity. I have not experienced that. I pray I don't have to experience that too hard. I have, and that baby that $5,000 he left in his email. I was like, what? But I was perturbed on that one. But I haven't had like that crazy disappointment or even tragedy or the illnesses. I know people who have children who have been ill. There's been various things through this whole journey. Do you know, and are you good with your ability to respond lovingly? That's a hard, mature, grown woman, pull up your drawers questions. Like, yes, what are you like, can you really, in the midst of everything falling apart, figure out some type of way to regroup and still show up for your children and for your husband? Are you
Mm.
prioritizing him? Because I got a good dude here. Like, I really got a good dude. My mama live with me. I don't know why I whisper.
Wow.
You're like, yo, my mama live with me. Like, I'm no, for real. And so, in the space of being this homeschool leader that has been traveling, I
Yeah.
travel on conferences and I go here, and my husband be like, I got it.
Oh,
We're good. My mama was literally being discharged from the hospital. I was on my way to Asheville, North Carolina, and was literally sitting like at home after I come back from the hospital going, I'm not going anywhere. like
oh,
feeling some sort of way about everything, and him reaching in the closet, getting out my luggage, talking about, is this what you wearing?
oh.
Girl, I went up there. I didn't have no deodorant, no makeup. I had things
Bare
missing,
essentials.
but
Bare.
they had an evening dinner on the last day. Girl, I had a ball gown and
That's what happens. Lesson
like,
learned.
I went to that thing. They're like, dressed like a princess. Yes, this is what he
Oh,
thinks of me.
oh, yeah.
But just to, and then for him to call my siblings and be like, it's time for y'all, let's mobilize. She has
Mm,
something that she been paid to do and she wants to do, and let her do it for a
yeah.
few days. And I know that I have that. So I always tell people, have you effectively cultivated team? I
Mm,
do know some homeschool mamas who lean on folks a lot and they never are there to reciprocate.
mm,
Sometimes you gonna have to stop your life. And sometimes you gonna have to look at another, like when my mom had a stroke and I said, we're not homeschooling for a while. And I basically
mm.
paid an 8-year-old to read books with a 4-year-old. Because I was like, everybody else can kind of do a little autopilot. I didn't want her to be totally without me because my mom
Yeah.
was living here at that time. And I wanted to rehab her for a while and help her get everything in order. But in that space, do you have effective team, not just in
Mm.
your children and you're validating them as teammates, but you're also your
Yes.
spouse, your friends. Do you have mom friends that they trust you to get respite and you can trust them so you can get some respite
Mm,
and everything? I have a very good friend, and because I have a lot of boys and she has one daughter and I have one daughter, we have discussed the fact that she doesn't want her teenage daughter, her 13-year-old daughter, hanging out at my house with all these young men. I did not take offense to that. So if I
mm.
pick up her daughter and my daughter are hanging out, we may hang out a little longer, and then we'll make our way to her house. But there's no moments where we just like, okay, so I done brought your baby back and she over here hanging out with a 22-year-old, 20-year-old, 16-year-old, and she 13. I get it. I
Yes.
100% get it. I think in some spaces somebody may say, do you not trust me? And I'm like, it's not about
Ain't
that.
got nothing to do with
You
that.
should be in the space to tell me, yeah, I'm not comfortable with that. And I tell the same thing, I may not want him back over there hanging out with, with your husband and your uncles because they live over there. So it's the same thing. Can we in that space respect the boundaries? And she is absolutely the super duper Girl Scout mama. So every Girl Scout trip, you talking about don't want to go outside. 5K races, she done taking my baby to. And I was like, tap out, peace.
Call me
See
when you're on
y'all.
your way.
Call me when you're on your way. And I have her daughter be like, hey, Chipotle, y'all. So we understand our spaces.
Yes. That
And do
community
you
is
have that?
important.
Do you have that? And that's why DeKalb Christian Home Educators has been like, it was started in 89. I'm like board chair, I think about 8 or 9 somewhere now, I don't even know. But I didn't start this. But to have a wealth of mothers,
Yes.
mothers that you can look to and go, people who got children who are 30, and you can literally call a passport member or somebody and say, I got a question.
Mm,
I'm trying to deal with a particular board issue, a personal issue, or this, whatever we're trying to do. And I've watched these women establish transparent relationships that are safe relationships. And this is something that we're very keen on in our culture, is that sometimes you have to understand all people are not safe people to
mm,
let all your information out. So there's a book we read it as a group by Henry McLeod called Safe People. And
mm,
so this book speaks about the fact that in Like you need to evaluate who are those people that will keep you. You know, the old folk used to say you need to learn how to be a refrigerator and learn how to keep something. That was how they would say, don't gossip about folks.
Yeah.
Don't talk about them. And if a person is telling you things that you know, my bandwidth, anytime somebody comes to me and start talking about marriage issues, I pretty much go, okay, you know, I be giving that standard. I have nothing for you. Did you pray about it? I don't know. You know,
Mm,
but I don't do that anymore. We have two moms who actually function in marriage counseling. One works for
mm.
the unit. She works in relational counseling for, I think, Emory University, and another one who that's something that she's done for years at her church. And so my thing is, when you're seeing people who are struggling and spiraling, there's nothing wrong with referring them to mental health service. It
At
is
all.
not. It is too often we as Black people step away from it. And there are some times where you as a mama got to say, I got to do something different. I'll tell you, my mother lives with me. And my mother is a reconciler of relationships because me and my therapist, at one point, we were on the outs because I was like, you're just asking too much accountability of me. I'm just not in that space. So, but when she came here, because I was like, what? Okay, let me go on back over here and get back. We got to get back together. we're gonna we're gonna be friends again because I
I'm
need her.
back. I'm back.
I'm bad. And she's like, really? Did you work on those things I told you to work on? Man, a little bit.
Oh, goodness.
Because because you recognize that sometimes you're not going to change your parents or the people around you. Sometimes you just have to learn, like, what are my boundaries? How do I deal with people? And there are some people you just got to go, not today, just
Yeah.
not today. And so I do have okay, I'm not gonna, because I do firmly believe that you should, there's a Bible verse that says, respect thy mother and thy father so your days will be long. And I was like,
Hmm.
I want some long days. I do believe
Right?
that. But Lord, have you met her? Like, like
Is this what you said before?
I promise you, I love my mother to life. But we do recognize almost 80-year-old women, they have a certain way of thinking that makes you go, okay. They have a certain way of thinking. So I just recognize that in this space, because all my siblings at one point, I have it's four of us total. We have had times where we taken care of my mother. So I had her right after the stroke for a while, then my sister, and then my other sister. But then when she was pregnant with baby number 7, we were like, I think you need to tap out. so we let her tap out because I was like, 7? Oh, so I was like, let's come over here. But it is understanding. One of the things I keep telling parents is like, do you know who your community is?
Mm.
And are you willing to be community
Yes.
in the same way? Not all the time, but when the moment happens, are you there? So the DeKalb Christian Home Educators is a parent volunteer mandatory organization.
Mm.
And so our yearly membership is only $50 a year. I always crack a joke about it's like $3.33 a month. It breaks down to pretty much. And so, but we don't have to have that type of heavy staff and employee in that way because our parents are
Are
really carrying the
involved.
load. And we have
Mhm.
classrooms available for parents saying, you know what, I am like we have a podiatrist who's teaching
Mm.
human anatomy. We have a mom who literally was in the script spelling bee in Washington, D.C. when she was in
Oh.
the 6th grade. She's our script spelling bee coordinator and teaches the Latin and Greek spelling club. She also I think she was a work for a book publisher, so she's also teaching a English class for middle schoolers. You just looking at parents. I have parents who were teachers in the past, and or as in one of my friends who runs the accrediting association, she's a Harvard law grad.
Mm.
So those type of just every parent coming together because we know you have genes. And the beautiful thing that I learned from that very first public school experience that I had years ago, even as a child, and then when my children were in elementary school, was that those schools were strong and powerful because they welcome community.
Yes, ma'am.
However it shows up, we cannot. And when people show up in community, we have to be very open to make sure that they are welcome and that we are not putting some type of supremacist, patriarchal stamp on how family got to look. You know, everybody's
Yes.
family does not look the same, and we
No.
know that there are father-led, mom-led, grandparent-led families, single families. There are things that happen in life, and if a parent
Yes.
wants to homeschool, how can we come together with some resources to help them do it well? And so that has been my only mission, and I feel like advocacy over the last couple of years since the pandemic is to say, what is the pathway for your educational freedom for your family? It could be micro school, it could be Montessori, it could be charter, it could be public, but that space should be available to you. It should be a right because your child deserves a curated education.
Yes, ma'am. Individualized. It does. I love that. What's your membership size?
Oh, so we have 187 members right now. That comes out to, when I say members, because we count the kids too. So that comes out to, I think it's like 80 something families, because we do have some big families. We got a couple, we had a family with 11 kids, a couple with 7, somebody with
Really?
8, some, yes. You know, I always crack a joke like, you know, it's like y'all have having babies around here, a competition. I was like, girl, I tap out.
Yeah, you
They,
tapped out
they,
early.
yeah, they like,
11.
yes, they
Ooh.
and here's the thing, they do it well. I mean, I have one mom who has 7 kids. She was a online professor at one time for Harvard, for John Hopkins, and I'm looking at her like, girl, like
You
that
need to
is
be teaching
amazing.
classes, like parenting classes.
Yeah, she's amazing. You know, she's the one, she came on and she was working actually with our grants because she works with higher ed at one point. So my thing is like looking at these amazing families and these amazing parents. But here's the thing, I mean, we've touched the lives of probably over 800 people, 8 to
Oh, I don't
900
doubt
people,
it.
because we have been around a very, very long time and working on, but that's why we knew that even though we're small and we're mighty over here, um, that the conference was important. And the only way to continue the community is to talk to other communities. So, you know, there's in Austell, Georgia, there's EPIC. In Lilburn, there's Eastside Academic Studies, there's Summit Academy, there's Heritage Guild, there's DeKalb Christian Home Educators. You know, there is Past Network in Atlanta, you know, Black Micro Schools Institute. You know, it's like it keeps going. But these are all so many amazing Black founders who are doing things in their community. But here's the thing, everybody don't know about everybody. And to be honest, if
Mhm.
you're really in the classroom, really working on teaching and being that nonprofit, you're not posting to social media either. Because you're working. And so at the end of the day, most of us are not sitting down and actually posting or anything,
Yeah.
or even have the staff to be, you know, focused on that marketing piece. But what if we could all just have a space where I know of you, you know of me. So if what I'm doing is not necessarily working for this family, I'll be like, hey, here's 5 other locations within a couple of miles of me that you could find somebody. Going up the street,
Yeah.
you can go to Finch Academy, that's up the street from me. You know, you go to all these various places, and you're saying that you're still looking for a diverse provider. We got you. You're looking for a provider, a Black provider who specializes in neurodivergent children. Know who that is. So you know you able to send them in a direction and not leave them standing there feeling like, well, nobody can answer my question. I'm not getting what
Right.
I need over here at public school and everything. That is the true power of community.
Yeah.
Can we at all times, even if we don't know the answer. And it's all right to look at people and say, I do not know, but I'm about to put out something
Yes.
on Facebook, on Instagram, I'm about to ask a question because somebody out of a group of 100 people know.
Yes.
Somebody we're going to know. Somebody has succeeded here. And we want our Black families to be successful. We want them to feel like this education. And even if this particular mode you chose is not successful, you could try something different.
Try something new. Yes. Yeah, I love that y'all have banded together and provide the network. So it's like you say, you all can, like parents can find what works for them. They don't have to go to a certain organization. They don't have to, like some organizations don't want to gather with others because they want everyone to come their way. So it's like, no, y'all aren't gatekeeping. Y'all aren't trying to railroad anyone to choose this or choose that. It's like, nah, what works for y'all here?
And a part of that being a good network is also being transparent with the other people in the network about where you got your funding. If
Yes,
you
yes.
funny about letting people know where your money is, your heart not in it. Your heart's not in it. Because let's be real, there's a lot of philanthropy dollars out here, and sometimes people don't know who to call, who to access, and there are some applications that are not public.
Yeah.
And so they've already picked a group of people. And so if you have an opportunity, that's something that we have an edupreneur, as we say, educational entrepreneur track at our homeschool conference. And because we do talk about the fundraising piece, the fun about that place, because it's good to get a grant, and grants are great. And we love free money, but you're gonna have to figure out how can you be sustainable for years. I know so many founders who are like, I hadn't paid myself in months. And I'm like, whoa, like, how are you making it? That's a lot. And so you want to make sure that they feel like their work isn't in vain and that they're rewarded for, we don't muzzle the ox, as the words say, go ahead. We understand your children should have an excellent education too, because most of these providers do have children. Their children should be able to do beautiful things too. And so we make sure that we have a meet and greet on that first Wednesday of the conference, where the meet and greet is with the educational entrepreneurs and our sponsors and our people who have donated into this space to say, talk amongst them. And we tell our sponsors and our donors, y'all need to be comfortable with people doing a pitch to you, because that's pretty much what this is. Be honest with them. Say, you know what? Your program seems a little broad. What is the one impact place? Do you know your key performance indicators? What are your KPIs? There are some questions that sometimes people don't think about because they're working so hard in the business that they never work on the business because they're just trying to survive the day. So our main thing is to also make sure that those people feel supported in that space.
That's awesome. That's important. That's important. Like you said, people definitely get caught up in actually just running the business, not necessarily like the running of the business. So very
Yeah.
important. What's next?
So what's next for us is that January the 24th through the 26th, we will be having the Flourish 2024 Black Family Homeschool Conference here in Metro Atlanta. It will be at the New Life Community Center at 3592 Flat Shoals Road, in Decatur, Georgia. And so we are very excited to have that space. Last year, like I said, we hosted over 380 people. Due to us being in a bigger space, we're going to be able to host 500 this year. And we're just really excited. We're going to up it from our 50, our vendor hall having the 50 educational providers to trying to be closer to 70 educational providers there. We're excited about that opportunity to be able to really bring to a lot of our families, answer a resource question they're asking, like, do you know of any unit study or curriculums that are leaning into African history or African American history? Because we do know they're two different things. And everything, two different. So we have those parents who are looking for curriculum created where they see themselves. And so that is one of the things that we're actually pulling more toward. I always say every homeschool mama probably got a curriculum in her Google Drive this year. Like you probably got gold in the Dropbox. But
Indeed.
have you thought about putting that in a form that can be shared? Free or for monetary gain. Either way, I don't feel any way about it. I think that it's good to be able to, all your hard work, you to get some fruit from it. But my main thing is to make sure that we are able to have providers who are focused on the underserved and the under-resourced families that we have in our community. Because a lot of times our families here, they are, when I say underserved, there is nothing that is to serve them individually, culturally, diversely in that particular way. And when I say under-resourced, it's like, where is it? Like, you're like, excuse me, they may have, this is Metro Atlanta, because we do have some parents who they have the money, but the actual resource is not even existed for them to access. So we just want to make sure that those parents have access to it. And so we are just thankful to have so many great sponsors like National School Choice Week, Baylor Education Fund. We also have, we're coming along with Yes Every Kid Foundation was a donor, and we, HSLDA. So we're just excited to be able to go into the community and have these sponsors to come forth. And we're excited to actually introduce these sponsors to some of our community members who did not realize that maybe that they can financially be able to financially sustain their program and then continue to serve the community.
Yes. I love it. I already told you, I already knew this was going to be amazing, and that, oh yes, no. What's 3 things you would like to leave parents with? 3 things, new homeschool families. What's something you would like to give them?
3 things. Okay, so number one, ask your child what their interest is. Like, truly get to know their heart. Like, what do they like? And I know it ebbs and flows, the things they like, but spend some time getting to know what their heart is. Number 2, spend some time getting to know your heart. It's a hard space to homeschool if you got a lot of issues you still dealing with.
You better.
It's hard because then guess what? You've pulled away from adult interaction. You may be taking a financial hit in the beginning, especially if you pulled in to do that. And then on top of that, your children just not gonna act right all the time. Let's just be honest. They're just not. And so really take a moment to say, what are the things that I need to work on? What are the things that are hurting me? We're actually going to be doing a workshop. It's like going to be a keynote panel where we're going to be talking about I think it's called Homeschooling More Than You Ever Thought. And so we're going to talk about the spaces of legacy healing that has happened when parents have just said, you know what, I have the time, because it's something about breaking away from society and sitting still for a second in a certain way to go, oh, wow, there's a lot of things that I need to work on. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I would say, number 2, get to know your heart. You know your hurts. You know the things that trigger you. Let's be a big girl and let's start to work on that a little bit more. And then I would say number 3, understand create your team. When I say create your team, I always say team start at home, point blank. I don't care what I do out here in these streets for whatever. If I have not love at home, it's a wrap. I think in Timothy, it says something like a man who don't take care of his house is doomed. So I feel like that portion of number 3, understand your team, because your team is your community. It starts at home, most definitely. If you have, and so sometimes with people who want to homeschool, it really does start with, have you really told your spouse this is what you want to do?
Yes,
like
start there.
Totally honestly be like, look here, I know I make $90,000 a year, but I want to leave my job. Like, no, that is a real conversation.
What is it? Yeah.
Because he's gonna be looking at you like, what? Do you know how many years in this household that we only had one car? I've been married 22 years. Half of those years we had one car. So, and everything. But my husband, medical IT, COVID wasn't that bad. So, but I digress. It is one of those things where you really do need to have an honest conversation with the folks in your household about what you want and what you're desiring and what you're seeing as the benefit you're going to get from it. Because let's be honest, homeschooling takes your time. It can take your money. It can take your energy. You're going to be doing way too much. You're going to be too much girl in the beginning. You're gonna be planning too much and focusing on it too much, and your husband's gonna be like, "Girl, I need you to put that laptop down. Come sit over here." And you're gonna be like, "No, I gotta do a lesson plan." It's you gonna probably be a little afraid around the edges in the beginning. So the question is, have you had that conversation so that you can have somebody to walk through you with that and say, "Okay,
Yeah.
we've done all we can do with this phonics program. It's 6 o'clock. We're not gonna keep on beating this horse to death. Let's eat dinner and let's chill."
Yeah.
Really understand who your team is, starting with home and then branching out, also finding community. Be community, be love in a way that you never thought. But I will say that fortifying what you need at home is the biggest part, because my kids are something that's much more important than anything else. They're friends. They're
Yeah.
friends. How many of us know families that Thanksgiving is getting ready to come up and them adversaries are coming home? They are coming home. The mama is all stressed out because her kids don't get along. Your family will be more beautiful when your children learn how to be each other's friends.
Yeah.
So those will be my 3 things that I will give to parents. Learn, know
Thank
your
you.
child's heart, know your heart, and really understand team starts at home.
I didn't know I was still muted. I said, how can we find Black Christian educators?
Okay, so with the conference, we are at GeorgiaBlackHomeEducators.org, and that is the conference for Flourish. My group that I'm a part of, DeKalb Christian Home Educators, is at DCHE Educators.org. That is DCHE Educators.org, 2 E's in the middle. If you want to get with the homeschool group or attend the conference. And lastly, if you want to get in contact with me, because I have spoken at a couple of conferences, I was so excited I got a chance to be invited to South by Southwest EDU this year. I still haven't run into Lecrae, but it's okay. It is okay. But um, but you can find me at NicolePDoyle.com.
Yes, and she is a plethora of information, beautiful resource. Amazing, really, really amazing. And I thank you. I thank you for all that you have shared today. And I still have more questions, but we already don't push it past the hour. So I'm like, okay, I gotta wrap up. But I would love to definitely have you back. And if you put me in contact with a mama with 11 kids, because I want to talk to her too. I want to talk to her too. We be needing to know, these multiples, especially. I shared that with you. I was just with my friend who has 4 girls, and it's a lot. Y'all do a lot. Definitely do a lot. I have 2. It's half of y'all gang, but I mean, I thought my 2, a lot of personality, a lot of energy, a lot of everything. And so it's just like when you're able to meet people who are managing all of that, and then you had 3 boys first. So that's a whole nother thing. All that testosterone. Yeah, that's a lot. But y'all are doing it. You smiling, you look good. He letting people know that, hey, there's happiness in this. Okay, understand that this can work.
I figured out my natural. I mean, in the beginning it was a struggle, but then, we were like, my husband tried to get me to get locks for years. He was like, "You sure you don't want to lock it?" I was like, "What is with you?"
Right, and fighting for no reason. It's like, I should have been did this. That's all.
Exactly.
Been did this. But Nicole, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Families that are listening, please continue on your journey. Start now. Don't wait. You got it. You got it. You heard Nicole. Hey, it's just about what works for you, whether it's a micro
Come on
school,
to the
charter school,
conference.
homeschool. Yes, come to the conference during National School Choice Week. That would be beautiful. But I'm trying to figure it out, but I don't think I can make it there and have to go to St. Louis too. I don't know, because mine is on the 27th in St. Louis, January 27th. So I don't know, because Shanette did send that. I'm like, I could, we're gonna see. I'm not gonna count it out. We gonna see. But yes, please check out the conference. Please check out any resources that are available, because there are plentiful resources available to make sure and ensure that you are confident on this journey. So yeah, homeschool your kids.
All right.